I could follow up, you eventually worked for the Cardinal, and I think you had a good relationship with him.
I had a very good relationship.
At that time, sitting in the back of that chapel, did you think that would be your relationship?
No. I entered the seminary to be a parish priest, and I was for a year and 10 months, and then was changed to the Cardinal's office.
And we were stationed together in Downingtown, and I was the one that heard the rumor that he was the new Cardinal secretary. So I was the one that broke it to him. So he found out first from me that it was in the.
And when the letters came
cards.
out, I didn't get one. It was lost in the mail. But no, I had absolutely no idea. But it was an association that built over 4 years, where I got to see him in vulnerable moments, and perhaps came to an appreciation of an awful lot more of what ended up being the Archbishop, other than the public moments. And that was a grace.
Now, I take it then, since the theologians were a little bit more duro, that the leaker, not to be named, probably came from the theology side.
Had to be,
Oh, yeah.
because it was their paper. We had individual class papers.
So this was published in the local newspaper.
Yes, the largest local newspaper on Sunday.
On Sunday, the big edition.
You got it.
All right. And that's why it was seen as revolutionary. But you were very emphatic. This was not a revolution.
It was not. We were doing what we were asked to do. All right. But as Monsignor said, immediately before the apostolic visit was this walkout, and that kind of tinted everything that came after it.
So leading up to it, what were things that were happening in the seminary that you were looking for changes? I mean, apart from the priests being concelebrants, like formation-wise, freedom-wise, regulation-wise.
Well, it was the time of the council, and everybody thought everything was going to change. Sadly, that affected the priest, who thought celibacy was going to go, and when it didn't, they left. And so everyone was expecting all this new stuff to come, and so that's what precipitated. Yeah, the spiritual direction could have been better. I'm being kind. The rector was an ill man, so that there was not really the leadership coming down from the top.
Our class took particular notice of the academic program, and what was viewed as significant weaknesses in terms of even professors being present for class and allowing graduate students who were pursuing the master's degree at Villanova, present company excluded, at least for a while, to teach their classes. And I remember our class made a comment that this professor was an excellent teacher, and we would benefit surely if he would come out of retirement. But he was full-time assigned to the seminary. So for me, the academic program, was something that was in need of renewal, and that for my particular class was a particular area of concentration.
Well, now that you're both back as retired faculty members, full-time, what do you think of the academics, the formation now versus...
Night and day.
Yeah. I tell the seminarians, I wish I had the people that are teaching theology now than the ones I did have. I said I would have learned so much more, and it would have been so much more beneficial to be in my vocation.
In addition to the fact that the faculty in the theology is larger, and so you don't have one professor teaching the entirety of Scripture.
Yeah. The cycle room.
That at least there's an exposure to different professors, different methodologies, and that can only be a plus. I remember when I walked into the classroom last year to First College, one of their first questions is, "What was formation like when you were a student, Father?"
It wasn't.
So
there
were no formators.
There's a concern. The entire faculty takes a responsibility for forming the students, and they're not just subject to the discipline and the purview of the dean.
There's a section in the library where they have periodicals. That was called the cycle room. And in that room were put second, third, and fourth theology with about 150 desks. The first theologians, which we called seventh year, got fundamental. So they were always in a classroom by themselves. So fundamental dogma, fundamental moral, sacraments in general. But once you reached eighth year, now called second theology, it was run on a 3-year cycle. They didn't care what order you got anything in. And you can imagine if you're the deacons sitting about a half a mile back, they're writing invitations for their ordination, Christmas cards, they're doing anything but listening to what the professor is, because they had the back exams and they had the notes, because most of them had been here for 40 years.
You must have been a more studious student, because I don't recall ever getting a Christmas card from you. So you weren't taking that time to write me a card.
Yeah, that's correct. I didn't know you then. That's why. Just to give an example of how the faculty was not very changeable. When I went into fifth year, which was first philosophy, now called third college, the professor there was Dr. Ward, Joe Ward, later became pastor St. Francis in Springfield. Well, my pastor gave me his textbook written in Latin that he had used around 1930. And here I am in 1967 using the exact same book.
Was Wardy his prof?
I don't know if I don't know if he had Wordy or not, but it was the same book. Hickey. And so in walks the prof, speaking in Latin. Now, I'll give Wordy credit. He knew we didn't know Latin. So after he explained it in Latin, he would then explain it in English to us so we'd have some idea. But it was the exact same book written in a foreign tongue 40 years later, probably in the same classroom with maybe the same professor. And Wordy was kind to us when we took the examinations. He said he preferred we wrote our answers in Latin, but he would accept what he called any known tongue. And most of the guys wrote it English. I did Latin, believe it or not. And the first exam I got back, and he used to mark in red crayon. It looked like Hakeldama when you got it back. I applaud your efforts in using the Latin tongue, he wrote. So that was the mentality of what the classes were like academically.
Let me ask you this. I want to switch topics, but for this, wrap up the white paper. Personally, like you two both lived what is legendary lore of the Archdiocese of Philadelphia. How would you summarize emotionally being there at that time? What were your thoughts?
Ooh. We didn't experience it as much down here as they did up there. I have to explain part 2 to you also. That's even worse than part 1.
How about you, Andy? What?
I think as it went along, I was hoping that things would be renewed, and they were, thank God. And I think perhaps in the back of my mind was, if they weren't, I might have sought to pursue a priestly vocation in the Jesuits.
Wow.
Remember, we were teenagers. I was 16 when I came in, so.
And I was 17.
17. But you stayed?
We obviously, or we wouldn't be here right now.